Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, January 21st, 2019, and we're going to be looking at a 2020 presidential election prediction between Secretary Hillary Clinton and President Donald Trump. So this one is probably not going to happen. Hillary Clinton has already said that she will not be running in the year 2020, but it's always interesting to do this type of rematch video because some people really want to see how well Hillary Clinton would do against Donald Trump in a rematch. And I am one of those people, so I have decided to make a video about it. Again, not too relevant to the current political discussion, but it's always interesting to see a rematch election between someone who lost and someone who won with the exact same two candidates. I will not be factoring in third parties, even though they did have a pretty substantial say back in 2016. That would just be more of a popular vote thing rather than just an electoral vote count thing. Obviously, there are some factors that did weigh into Donald Trump's victory in the three Rust Belt states and Hillary Clinton's victory in areas part of the Sun Belt and in the Northeast, but still, we're just going to be strictly doing Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. So when we think about an election like this would probably be a very interesting one. Donald Trump would have to reuse attacks from 2016. Hillary Clinton would have to convince the American people why she's better off this time around rather than in 2016. And to be completely honest with you, there are arguments for Hillary Clinton to run for the Democratic nomination. One, I guess you could say, in the current field of Democrats, a lot of them do have potential futures. They could run in the future and possibly win. I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton at all would be the best Democratic candidate out there. She may not exactly be the worst either. There are other candidates like Nancy Pelosi who could do worse than Hillary Clinton because Clinton has a solidified base that probably hasn't left her since 2016. And, Donald Trump would have to reuse a number of arguments. I'm not saying she would do better than she did in 2016 by any means. I do think that Donald Trump would improve based off the electoral vote count from 2016 to 2020. But there's not going to be some drastic wave where Donald Trump wins 40 plus states. When we look at an election like this, America has become so divided that even if Hillary Clinton ran for a third time, she'd probably carry most of the states she won the first time around. Okay, she ran in 2008, she ran in 2016. It isn't too unlikely that a candidate runs for a third time. I mean, Joe Biden ran 2 times already. If he does run, this would be his third time. Donald Trump has run before back in the year 2000 under the Reform Party. And there are just so many other things that you could bring up as an attack against, I guess you could say, certain political candidates. Hillary Clinton, again, not at all the best candidate that the Democratic Party can run whatsoever. So, again, they probably shouldn't run her, but it's just always interesting to see a matchup between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton yet again. So we're going to start by characterizing all the safe states. We pretty much do that every video with the same 125 electoral votes for Donald Trump. Actually, it might be 123 now that I look at it. Going up to Maine, the 2nd district, which probably would be safe in this scenario, but we will actually want to discuss it, so we will come back to it. That one goes to Donald Trump. Right now, he's at 125 electoral votes. For Hillary Clinton, she would carry some states, Maryland being one, Delaware, not New Hampshire yet, or maybe not at all. Up in the Northeast, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and the District of Columbia. New York is her home state. She would carry that state, Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii. So this is interesting. Hillary Clinton starts off with a larger lead than Donald Trump, but that's always expected with the Democratic Party getting a number of electoral votes from New York, Illinois, California. We're used to that. But we can go ahead and start by characterizing some safe states that wouldn't traditionally be safe states. States included, such as Ohio and Iowa. I do think that these states could possibly branch up into the safe margin for Donald Trump. These are definitely going to be larger margins in these states that Hillary Clinton did not win in back in 2016. And there's a reason for that. She didn't win then. She's probably not going to win now, especially with her approval rating, which has gone up just a tad bit. It does not mean she has necessarily gained voters. The voting base has pretty much stayed the same between those two candidates. Just a number of them are willing to cross over for other candidates like Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, people like that. We're not seeing that type of excitement for Hillary Clinton. Otherwise, there would be a bigger push for her to run. And Ohio and Iowa, those states themselves have shown Republican identities in the past, but Donald Trump really brought out these white working class voters, these rural voters, these voters that traditionally vote for people like Barack Obama to vote for him. He turned Iowa, which was a state that Obama won in the likely margin, I believe, back in 2012, and put it into the likely margin for the GOP. That is a substantial flip. In Ohio, Obama didn't win big there, but Trump won big there. Trump won around 3 times the amount Obama won in back in 2012. So when you look at something like that, that's huge for a presidential victory. I mean, winning in Ohio and Iowa, those are two big states. Moving over to a state like Texas, which was closer back in 2016, likely would move into the safe column for President Trump. Texas was a margin that he won by around 8 to 9%. I believe the state of Iowa voted for Donald Trump more than the state of Texas, which is something to note for looking at future elections. But Texas was a little bit closer, but you can pretty much just expect that state to go into the safe column because Hillary Clinton is not going to gain any votes here. Sure, it has narrowed down, especially with someone like Beto O'Rourke coming in. And a lot of you have been saying that's not my only argument for it. I mean, looking at demographic changes, that is definitely a big thing in Texas. It would not have been as close, even with Beto O'Rourke, especially with predominantly white voters. Hispanic voters definitely made a huge impact on that election. Looking at the overall change between when it was before and now, there definitely is a huge boom in terms of immigrants coming in and voting. That's just a thing that happens in the state of Texas. It's happening all across the Sun Belt. And, you can't really, the Republican Party can't really just say, factor that out because they are a very big voting base. Before, Texas was stereotyped as a very Republican state. Can't really make that argument anymore, but with an election against Hillary Clinton, you probably can with someone who had already won the state the first time around. That pretty much covers all the safe margins except for, not Maine at large. I meant to do Maine's 2nd congressional district. That one would probably be safe for Donald Trump. For Hillary Clinton, there aren't any states on here that I would characterize as safe. For Donald Trump, though, I would characterize some of these states as likely states, Georgia included. Arizona included. Those states alone I do think could be likely margins for Donald Trump. Although Arizona was a lean margin back in 2016, again, Hillary Clinton's probably going to do a little bit worse, but not enough to put it back into the safe column for the GOP. Georgia was already a likely state. You can expect that one to just maybe bump up to 9-10% for Donald Trump, but still be in the likely column. Going down to the state of Florida, that one's probably not going to be likely, to be completely honest with you. We'll get back to that one in just a moment. Nebraska's 2nd district I would characterize as a likely state. Likely district. Donald Trump, you can expect to, gain in terms of voters, but even if these margins were already on edge between leaning and likely, you might as well just throw them in the likely column for right now. Donald Trump is clearly going to do better when he is going against a candidate that is so unpopular, even disliked by the Democratic Party. 48% of Democrats do not want her to run. 52% of Democrats think she should not run and that she would not be beneficial for the 2020 race. And that tells you a lot. I believe 70% of Democrats do not want her to run as of right now, and that's from a CNN poll, so the numbers could be different depending on who's taking the poll. But that's something to note. The Democratic Party doesn't want her. Obviously, the GOP doesn't want her. Maybe they do for an easy re-election, but for right now, Hillary Clinton's probably not going to run. Keep in mind, Donald Trump is running against her, which is why these margins may seem a little bit whack, but that's pretty much what I think you could expect with an election like this. Florida, that one I think would be a lean, so now we're moving into the lean states. Nevada, I would think would be a lean because I do think that it's probably going to hold on a little bit for the Democratic Party in terms of voting basis, but I still think it could narrowly go into the Trump column. New Mexico, I would characterize as a lean blue state. We're going to get back to Virginia. Going to the north, I would say that Donald Trump narrowly carries the state of New Hampshire, narrowly carries Maine at large. Hillary Clinton narrowly carries the 1st district in the state of Maine. And that puts Donald Trump at 257 and Hillary Clinton at 188. Looking for other places where she can win, it is very, very hard for you to make that argument. North Carolina, probably going to be an actually likely margin. I forgot to characterize that one before. Mitt Romney did pretty well there. Donald Trump did pretty well there. He's going to expand on a lead in 2020 going against Hillary Clinton the second time around, which puts North Carolina in the column. So now officially Donald Trump has been reelected. He has 272 electoral votes to Hillary Clinton's 188. Going over to the Rust Belt, though, you can make an argument that Hillary Clinton could possibly do a little bit better there, but I'm not seeing it. I get it if you guys personally live in those states, and maybe you could make an argument for that. But for right now, I'm going to characterize all 3 of those states into the lean GOP column, which officially puts Donald Trump past the number where he was before. He is at 318 electoral votes. Keep in mind, he was at 306 back in 2016. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, those are states that used to be Democratic strongholds. They are not anymore. And that's pretty much expected. Almost 3 decades passed with those states going just for the Democratic Party every presidential election. But 2016 did not seem like it was going to be the time when those states did go to the GOP for the first time in a while. Maybe Democrats were thinking they could have lost it in 2020, but I think it was a huge surprise for all Democrats that they did lose that in 2016. But going over to other states, Colorado It's really hard to call this one, but I do think that Hillary Clinton could narrowly carry the state of Colorado. After its 2018 performance, which was outstanding for the Democratic Party, it's going to be really hard for the GOP to even get voters there enough to flip the state. It wasn't exactly a safe margin for Hillary Clinton back in 2016, but looking at the 2018 map, you might as well just call it a safe swing state, which means it's probably going to be in the likely margin if a good Democrat runs. But Hillary Clinton could narrowly edge out that state and hold on to it, which puts out 197 electoral votes. Obviously not the best accomplishment. Donald Trump has already surpassed his former number by 12 electoral votes. But going over to Minnesota, I would characterize that one as a lean Republican state. And this may be a big thing. But looking at the state of Virginia, it is very, very hard to call that state. Again, looking at the 2016, 2017, 2018, and likely 2019 election results, it's really, really hard to make an argument for the Republican Party here. They have just done so poorly. And, polling here has been out. I mean, looking at the approval rating says they negatively approve the president by -3. I don't trust that at all. They also said on Election Day, Ed Gillespie could have won by 1% according to one of the polls. The polls were underestimating them in 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2012, 2008. I mean, looking at the areas, it's really hard to get a very, I guess you could say, good poll from a state like Virginia, especially with every part of Virginia being the GOP except for Northern Virginia and smaller pockets. And it's really hard to get an accurate sense of how these voters are going to go. But I would say that Hillary Clinton narrowly edges this one out. I mean very narrowly. This doesn't have a tilt feature. I don't know if it's going to be added or not, but I do think that it's going to narrowly go to Hillary Clinton. You're going to see it definitely be a lot narrower than where it was back in 2016, but still a Democratic win regardless. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. Donald Trump wins 328 electoral votes to Hillary Clinton's 210 in this 2020 scenario. Donald Trump flips the states of Nevada, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and the state of Maine. Hillary Clinton does not flip any states, which is expected because she is going for a rematch against the guy she lost before, and she is at 210 electoral votes. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.